You need to hear this. The most powerful move you can make after being hurt, ghosted, or taken for granted is silence. When you stop chasing, explaining, or fighting for attention, you flip the script entirely. The moment you erase someone's access to you, the moment you become unavailable, is the moment they start realizing what they lost. This isn't about games. This is about respect. It's about your energy. It's about reclaiming your power and reminding yourself you are the prize. And when you show up differently, trust me, the ones who thought they could take you for granted will come running back, filled with regret, but by then, you'll be too busy living the life they no longer get to be part of. When someone hurts you, your first instinct is to talk, texting long messages, asking why, demanding closure. But silence is the most powerful message you'll ever send. The minute you stop explaining yourself, stop trying to fix it, and just disappear, you create a vacuum that forces the other person to feel the weight of your absence. People aren't moved by words. They're moved by what they can no longer reach, no longer touch, no longer have easy access to. Chasing someone with words never makes them understand your value. It only makes them comfortable disrespecting it. Every time you send another "let's talk" text or another "I miss you" message, you're handing over more of your power. You think you're making them realize how much you care, but what you're actually doing is confirming that they can hurt you and still have you waiting. Silence, on the other hand, says, I don't need you to understand. I'm moving on whether you get it or not. When you pull back completely, you shift the entire dynamic. Suddenly, the attention they used to take for granted is gone. The texts that used to light up their phone, silent. The calls they ignored, not happening. The reactions they were used to provoking, non-existent. They aren't hit with a confrontation. They're hit with the reality that you're not there anymore. And that realization cuts a lot deeper than any speech ever could. A lot of people think they need to make a grand statement to get noticed. Some dramatic goodbye post, some angry voicemail, something loud and messy. But when you erase your presence without a word, it hits different. It doesn't look like a performance, it looks like strength. It shows that your self-respect is bigger than your need for validation. And that's when the regret starts brewing inside them. Quiet power is terrifying to someone who thought they had you wrapped around their finger. The silence gives them space to hear their own thoughts without your voice interrupting them. And trust me, the mind plays games when there's an empty space where you used to be. They replay conversations. They wonder if you're thinking about them. They start questioning their own decisions. The minute you're not there to fill in the blanks, they start doing it themselves. And usually, they don't like the answers they come up with. What most women do wrong in these moments is break their own silence too soon. You get lonely, you get anxious, you convince yourself that reaching out will somehow bring closure or fix it. But reaching out too soon is like patching a leak with paper towels. It looks like action, but it solves nothing. Instead, sit with the discomfort. Trust that the silence is doing the heavy lifting you can't see yet. Every minute you stay silent, the tension grows on their end, not yours. When you stay silent long enough, it forces the other person to realize that access to you is a privilege, not a right. And once that sinks in, regret starts to burn. The moments they dismissed, the words they ignored, the way they treated you, all of it starts playing back in their mind. But this time, they're watching it without you there to comfort them, without you there to explain or soften the blow. They're stuck sitting in it alone. It's easy to think silence means weakness, but it's actually the loudest form of self-respect you can express. When you stop fighting to be heard, when you stop arguing your worth, you're making a statement without ever opening your mouth. I choose me. And nothing unsettles someone more than realizing you're no longer available to be manipulated, to be underestimated, to be half-loved. Silence doesn't just end conversations, it ends cycles. You don't need to scream. You don't need to post passive-aggressive quotes. You don't even need to hint that you're upset. Just stop showing up. Stop responding. Stop explaining yourself to people who made a choice to misunderstand you. Let your silence do the talking and trust that it's louder, stronger, and more unforgettable than anything you could have ever said. The truth is, people rarely appreciate something when it's always right in front of them. Your consistent presence, your constant availability, your willingness to keep showing up, It becomes invisible when it's expected. It's when you finally pull away, when you stop making yourself an option, that the lesson begins to hit in a way words never could. Your absence is a wake-up call they can't sleep through. When you go silent, when you stop texting good morning, when you're not there to react to their half-hearted efforts, it's jarring. It's not a maybe, it's not a hint, it's a full stop. And suddenly they have no choice but to face what they've lost, not in theory, but in reality, day after day, with no sign of you to soften the blow. But the biggest mistakes women make after pulling back is trying to check in to see if he's learned his lesson yet. You start wondering if he misses you, if he regrets it, and you feel tempted to send a little message just to see. But every time you reappear too soon, you reset the lesson. You turn a moment of discomfort for him into a moment of reassurance. And that reassurance teaches him that you'll always come back no matter what. Absence works because it forces someone to confront themselves. Without you filling in the gaps, without your laughter, your energy, your encouragement, they're left alone with the consequences of their own behavior. They're left realizing that you're not just a text away, that you're not sitting around waiting for crumbs. And it stings in a way that arguments and tears never could. Think about it. If you burn your hand on a stove, you learn quickly not to touch it again. But if every time someone mistreats you, you still show up with love and attention, there's no pain attached to their mistake. Your absence is the burn. It's the thing that forces them to associate their choices with real loss, not imagined consequences. You're no longer the safety net cushioning their bad decisions. Most women underestimate the power of disappearing because it feels passive. You think action means calling them out, blocking them dramatically, or getting closure. But the most powerful action you can take is to become unavailable without warning or explanation. No announcements, no warnings, just absence. And in that void, they start realizing how easy it was to have you and how hard it is to replace you. When you stay gone long enough, it starts rewriting the story they tell themselves about you. At first, they might pretend they don't care, they might act like they're unbothered, but silence drags them into reflection whether they want to or not. Over time, the narrative shifts from, "she was always there," to, "why did I let her go?" And by the time they realize they need you, you're already building a life where they're just a memory. Absence doesn't guarantee they'll come back. It guarantees they'll think. And honestly, that's even more important. Because this isn't about manipulating someone into missing you. It's about creating a boundary that teaches respect. Whether they regret it or not, your absence forces them to see your worth without you ever having to explain it again. Instead of waiting for them to wake up, focus on building a world so full, so rich, that you barely notice who's missing. Every minute you invest in yourself, every step you take away from needing someone else's validation, becomes part of the lesson they have to live with. Your absence will echo louder than any apology they could offer, because by the time they realize what they lost, you'll be too busy living a life they no longer get to touch. The biggest trap women fall into after being hurt or overlooked is believing that if they just explain their worth clearly enough, he'll finally get it. You pour your heart out in long texts. You try to remind him of everything you did. You try to make him understand. But explaining your worth never works, because someone who didn't value you when they had you won't suddenly wake up because of your words. They only wake up when they feel the consequences of losing you. You cannot force someone to see you differently by talking. The more you explain, the more you beg, the smaller you make yourself. Instead of looking strong, you come across as desperate for approval, and that energy is never respected. If someone didn't appreciate you when you were fully available, no speech, no letter, no conversation will flip a switch. The only thing that changes their perception is the hard experience of no longer having access to you. Women waste so much time trying to be understood, when the real power move is to stop trying altogether. Pull your energy back. Get silent. Erase your availability. When you stop explaining your worth, you stop offering it as a debate. You're not asking to be seen anymore. You're becoming the one who cannot be reached. And that shift forces them to wonder, to doubt, to feel the discomfort of your absence instead of the comfort of your explanations. Most women think being silent makes them look cold, but in reality it commands respect. Respect doesn't come from someone understanding your pain. It comes from them feeling the hole you leave behind when you stop pouring into them. Let them experience the inconvenience of you no longer texting back, no longer showing up, no longer trying to fix the connection they took for granted. Every second you spend explaining yourself is energy wasted on someone who chose not to listen the first time. And it's not your job to teach someone to appreciate you. It's your job to appreciate yourself enough to stop offering explanations to people who treated you like an option. The real flex isn't getting them to understand. It's making moves so powerful that their only choice is to sit with the regret of losing you. If you want to make someone feel your worth, show them what it looks like when your life no longer includes them. Not through angry posts, not through shady quotes, through pure absence, through silence so loud that they can't ignore it, through living a life so rich, so full, so magnetic, that their biggest punishment is watching you thrive without them. What a lot of women get wrong is thinking that disappearing for a few days is enough. They go silent for a week and expect a flood of apologies, but true absence is a commitment. It's not a tactic. It's a mindset shift. It's saying, whether you notice or not, I'm gone. It's building a life where their attention is no longer the center of your world. And that's when your worth becomes undeniable. You don't have to remind someone of all the ways you loved them, supported them, or showed up. If they didn't notice it then, they will notice the void now. If they didn't value your presence when they had it, they will choke on the absence when it's gone. But only if you stay committed to letting your actions, not your words, be the teacher. Stop trying to prove you are good enough. Stop trying to get a gold star for your loyalty, your kindness, your heart. The people who truly deserve you won't need an explanation. And the ones who took you for granted will have to sit in the silence you left behind, realizing too late that everything they needed was right there. And now it's gone. One of the biggest mistakes women make when pulling away is leaving little openings, small breadcrumbs, for him to still reach out and get just enough of you to feel comfortable. Maybe it's answering a late night text, liking his posts, or keeping the door cracked just enough so he doesn't feel the full impact of losing you. But half access leads to half respect. And if you want real change, you have to cut off every breadcrumb you're tempted to leave behind. Breadcrumbs might feel harmless in the moment, like small gestures that don't mean much, but to someone who took you for granted, those crumbs are proof that you're still available. Every little like, every small "I'm doing fine" response, every breadcrumb you drop gives him permission to keep treating you like an option instead of a priority. If you want someone to realize your value, they can't have bits and pieces of you. They either get all or they get nothing. Deleting the breadcrumbs means being bold enough to go all the way silent. Not passive-aggressive silent, not waiting for him to chase you, silent. Truly silent, because you've made the decision that you deserve more than someone who only shows up when it's convenient. It's not about playing games, it's about protecting your peace and teaching him through experience that access to you isn't casual. Half love is what happens when you settle for the breadcrumbs, because deep down, you're afraid of walking away completely. You convince yourself that even a little attention is better than none. You tell yourself that maybe he'll wake up if you just stay patient enough. But the truth is, staying half of oral only teaches him that you'll tolerate less than you deserve. Real love doesn't show up halfway. Real commitment doesn't come through. Most women don't realize how strong the temptation is to accept breadcrumbs until they're deep in the withdrawal. He sends a "hey, thinking of you" text and your heart races. You wonder if it's a sign. You wonder if maybe he's changing. But crumbs are not a meal. A vague text is not love. A few emojis are not an apology. And every time you engage with the crumbs, you delay the real healing that comes from complete detachment. The way you delete the breadcrumbs is by cutting the invisible strings too. That means muting his social media, not stalking his updates, not hoping to accidentally bump into him. It means taking full ownership of your energy and refusing to pour even a drop of it into someone who only wants to sip from your cup when it's convenient. Your silence isn't just about ignoring him. It's about choosing yourself every single day without exception. A lot of women try to make absence look dramatic, posting cryptic quotes, trying to look effortlessly happy online just so he notices. But that's still leaving breadcrumbs. True absence doesn't perform, it disappears. It stops caring whether he's watching or not. It stops trying to prove anything. It becomes a private commitment to no longer hand over pieces of yourself to someone who didn't know how to treasure the whole. And no half account also means no half hope. Stop hanging on to the fantasy version of him, the one you wish he could be if only he tried harder. Face the version that stood in front of you. Face the choices he made when he thought you would always be there. That's the real him. And that's the version you need to walk away from completely, without waiting around for another breadcrumb disguised as progress. When you delete the breadcrumbs, you stop confusing yourself, you stop negotiating your worth. You make it crystal clear to him and to yourself that you are not available for anything less than full love, full effort, full presence. And whether he gets it or not doesn't even matter, because the moment you reclaim all of your energy, you become too powerful to ever be anyone's backup plan again. The most powerful move you can make after someone takes you for granted is to rebuild a life so full, so beautiful, that there's no room left for them to slip back in. A lot of women secretly hope that by moving on, he'll come chasing. But if the door is left cracked open, even a little, you're still living for his validation. True healing is building a world where you're so deeply fulfilled, his absence doesn't even register anymore. What most women do wrong is thinking that rebuilding means pretending to be happy on the outside while secretly waiting for him to notice. They change their hair, post happier pictures, and hope he's watching. But if your new life is built on making him regret, it's still about him. Rebuilding right means you pour into yourself for yourself. You chase goals, dreams, experiences that have nothing to do with proving a point, and everything to do with creating a reality that excites you every single day. When you truly rebuild, you become unavailable in the most natural, unstoppable way. You're not playing hard to get. You are hard to get because you are genuinely busy, living a life too big for small games. You fill your time with things that feed your spirit. You surround yourself with people who lift you higher. You start to glow differently because the source of your happiness isn't a relationship. It's you. A lot of women sabotage their own progress by checking in to see if he's watching. They wonder if he saw the new career move, the vacation, the glow up. But real growth is blind to the audience. It doesn't perform for an ex. It doesn't check the views. It focuses on living fully, loving the process, and being so locked into the new chapter that the old one feels like it happened in another lifetime. Rebuilding a full life means setting standards that are non-negotiable, even if he tries to circle back. It's having the strength to say, what we had was a lesson, not a future. It's not about being bitter. It's about being clear. When your life is rich with purpose, passion, and peace, you don't entertain confusion. You don't romanticize the past. You don't shrink yourself to make someone else comfortable again. One mistake women make is thinking forgiveness automatically means reunion. Forgiving someone doesn't mean they get a seat back at your table. Sometimes forgiveness is just clearing the anger so you can move forward faster, not an invitation for them to re-enter your new beautiful life. You can release the pain without reopening the door. You can wish them well from a distance without offering them access. If you rebuild correctly, by the time he tries to find a way back in, he won't recognize the woman you've become. He'll be looking for the old version of you, the one who tolerated crumbs, who waited around, who tried to explain her worth. But that version no longer exists, and the new you doesn't have the time, the energy, or the desire to entertain someone who needed to lose you to realize your value. Rebuilding a full life also means protecting your peace with boundaries that are firm and unapologetic. It's not about being angry or cold. It's about honoring the life you worked so hard to build. It's about understanding that not everyone deserves a second chance to sit at the table you set through your own growth and healing. Some people are meant to stay lessons, not lifelong companions. You owe it to yourself to create a life so rich, so self-sustaining, that the idea of someone finding their way back in isn't even a temptation. They can miss you, they can regret you, they can ache for you, but it won't matter because you'll be too far ahead, too deeply rooted in your new happiness to ever look back. Regret doesn't hit when you cry over them, text them, or try to prove your worth. It hits when you're out there thriving without a single glance back. So many women waste their energy trying to make someone see their pain, thinking if he understands how much he hurts you, he'll finally come crawling back. But regret isn't triggered by your sadness, it's triggered by your success. What most women do wrong is they stay too connected to the version of themselves that got hurt. They keep replaying the story, posting cryptic quotes and hoping he notices their heartbreak. But regret only bites hard when the person you used to be becomes unrecognizable, because you leveled up so far beyond anything he ever expected. Thriving isn't about acting strong. It's about becoming so strong that you forget you ever needed his validation. When you shift from trying to be seen to focusing fully on building your best life, the game changes completely. Thriving is in the glow that comes from waking up excited about your own goals, filling your days with purpose, laughter, connection, and growth. A lot of women sabotage their own comeback by secretly hoping he's watching. They get caught up in appearances, in trying to post the right thing or show up at the right places. But thriving isn't about staging happiness. It's about living it so deeply that you're too busy enjoying your own journey to care who's watching. True thriving is silent. It's not a performance. It's a lifestyle. Regret hits harder when you start showing up for yourself in ways you used to beg him to. You take yourself on trips you used to dream of doing together. You hit goals you once hoped he'd support you through. You build a life so whole that it exposes just how small his effort really was. And it's not about rubbing it in his face. It's about finally realizing you were always the magic. Most women don't realize how much their own comeback depends on breaking the addiction to needing him to notice. Thriving is a choice you make every morning when you decide to move forward instead of staying stuck in what didn't work. It's every workout you finish, every boundary you hold, every new experience you say yes to that you would have once put on hold, waiting for him to catch up. The most powerful thing you can do is build a reality where his absence isn't even a factor anymore. It's not that you're pretending he didn't matter. It's that you finally matter more to yourself than anyone else ever could. When you start living that way, regret doesn't just visit him, it haunts him, because he realizes you didn't just move on, you outgrew him. Thriving without them is not about becoming cold or bitter. It's about becoming so focused on creating joy, peace, and success that you naturally leave behind anyone who couldn't rise with you. You stop needing to tell your side of the story. You stop needing closure. Your new life becomes the loudest message you'll ever send. Regret cuts the deepest when the person who once begged for breadcrumbs is now feasting at a table they built by themselves, without waiting for permission, without waiting for company, without waiting for an apology that never came. That's the real victory, not getting him back, but getting yourself back. The truth is, when you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop proving, and start living, you send the loudest message of all. And it doesn't come from words, it comes from your energy. When you erase someone from your life, not out of anger, but out of clarity, you don't just walk away. You rise so far above the old dynamic that they're left staring at the empty space they once occupied, filled with nothing but their own regret. And by then, you'll realize you're not interested in looking back, because your future is already too full of everything they could never give you.